Welcome to today's Focus On episode, highlighting the annual Black Management Forum Policy Conference and Achievement Awards. The BMF began in 1976 when a Black support group formed to address the challenges of corporate structures in South Africa, and today it focuses on socio-economic transformation through the empowerment of previously disadvantaged demographic groups. The BMF is dedicated to developing its members' managerial and leadership skills through workshops, conferences, and various programs. In this episode, I'll be speaking to Mr. Cuma Dube, Chairperson of the BMF Editorial Committee. Mr. Dube, welcome to the show. Great to have you. Tell me a little bit about what is your focus and your objective for the upcoming conference.
Thank you for having me and for letting us speak about this a little bit. What we are hoping to achieve is just a clear understanding of some of the issues we face currently as a country. And you'll notice with some of our panels, we look at the state of the economy, the state of political leadership in our country, as well as the just transition in response to our energy and socio-economic crisis. The conference will also delve into what we believe are crucial elements of the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Scorecard, and evaluate our performance on these and what the outcomes have been and what they should have been and what we can do about that. And so we hope to drive home the point that while BBBE has faced many challenges, as much as all our other frameworks in the country, due to maladministration, corruption, and incompetence, for lack of a more suitable term, we need these frameworks in place now more than ever.
Do we have an opportunity for a bit of a restart? And what are we trying to solve for then when we say we really need to relook, restart, reignite?
Yeah, so I expect firstly for us just to make an honest assessment in this conference of the decisions that we have made since the dawn of our democracy. Have those decisions stayed true to the promise and the developmental dreams of that moment? And if not, where did things go wrong? And how can we get back onto the right path? I also expect that the debate may also look at whether the promise of our democracy and its economic plan was the right one for our people to begin with. And if it is not the right promise that should have been made, what is that right one? And do we have what we need right now in order to pursue it? So in evaluating, like we said, the frameworks that we have in place from a BBBE perspective, we also look at that in context of whether or not we are making the right decisions. What decisions do we need to make to fix the mess that we are currently in? And so I'm excited about that panel because a number of scenarios will be laid out and spelled out by our panelists.
Whilst you're looking at having that conversation, you're solving for literally policy issues here, but you don't own all the policy issues. A lot of these are the decisions that were made based on the political system we undertook after democracy. So we're looking at a lot of neoliberalism policies that really looked at catering for a market that did not take into account the development of an economy or a group of people participating that were not, a part of the economy that needed to be uplifted. How are you going to tackle policy, in that respect? It's a tough space to fight.
It is a tough space to fight, and it requires a resilient organization in order to do so with clear policy positions on many of these issues and strong relationships with stakeholders to influence them to make decisions that may bring us closer to the promise of the moment at the dawn of our democracy. The role that we play in society is to collect the views of our members, to collect the views of our stakeholders, and partner with them in driving that agenda forward, using the many platforms that a democracy does make available to organizations like ourselves in order to do so. So we need to participate in the legislative space. We need to participate in the policy-making space as well with government departments and with government institutions. We need to go to court if we have to, and we need to also bring our corporate stakeholders closer to the table and have really frank and honest decisions about the role that they need to play as well in order for us to achieve the shared future that we desire.
But you also have a great opportunity now with climate change sitting at our doorstep. Do you see that as an opportunity and as a driver for the change that you want to see in the spread of economic activity?
Absolutely. And I think the opportunity is twofold, right? And I think the opportunity for the BMF through this policy conference is to introduce some nuance to that debate. I do not believe the choices that we have ahead of us are an either or in response, let's say, in relation to the climate crisis, that the energy crisis and the management of the just transition, for instance. I don't believe that the solutions we seek lie in the furthest ends of our political and economic spectrums, nor that the solution lies within a single ideological package. It isn't a question of, for an example, either to privatize ESCOM or to keep it all in state hands. I don't think the choice is between renewables and mining jobs. I think it's a lot more complicated than that and probably lies somewhere in between on what I believe may be different in how the BMF may approach that and kind of exploit the opportunity that presents, one, to reshape our economy, and two, to really mature the debate around some of these things, is that it has the potential to bring the debate to the reasonable middle. And I think that is where the solutions may be found. And if we can do that for this issue, we can do it for all the other issues that we're facing, where we're seeing the debate becoming increasingly polarized. And that is just less constructive than what we needed to be. I think most of the solutions to our issues lie somewhere in that reasonable middle.
How are you going to manage that energy of anxiety and the want of opportunity by businesses?
Well, I think it's just to keep the bigger picture in focus, right? So being in a technical recession, being in an economic downturn isn't the first time that we find ourselves in these kinds of situations, and it won't be the last. There's some lessons that we've learned about what we need to do to prepare for them, how to survive them, and navigate some of these choppy waters, and also set ourselves up for the opportunities that will present themselves once we come out of this downturn that we're currently in. But those opportunities need to be exploited differently. We need to be a little bit more responsible in how we exploit those opportunities in order to create shared value and in order to build resilience for the next downturn. The more people that are economically active, the more resilient we are. In the developing nations, we are most vulnerable to things like climate change, extreme weather events, and economic shocks because our economies are not resilient. There are too many people that are excluded. Developed countries are in a better position to navigate these choppy times, and that's because they are just a little bit more resilient.
Who's invited? Who's coming into this conversation? Who should we look forward to seeing how these perspectives are merging for the greater good of the country?
Yeah. My standard answer to that is that not enough people are invited into having that debate, and that's because these issues are often polarized with interests that are pulling these partners in some instances in different directions. We need to identify what our shared future looks like, and what each partner in that, what role they need to play in order to be able to achieve it. This attitude, I think, that exists within our body politic currently, that government and business have to be adversarial, I think isn't helpful either. And that excludes people from the debate as well. We need to crowd in private capital. We need to crowd in those skills. We need government to de-risk some of these investments as well. We know that infrastructure is important to our shared future, and we need that infrastructure to be built in a way that is responsible, that is also sensitive to the climate emergency that we're under and the socioeconomic pressures that we're under as well. You need social partners to make us aware of those pressures. You need non-government organizations to help us understand the climate science and how that will manifest in how we choose to use resources as we work towards the infrastructure development that we need, as we work towards an economy that is growing and that is more inclusive. So a lot more people need to come into the conversation, and those voices need to be respected. It needs to be more inclusive, and we need to realize that we are on the same team and that we are trying to achieve the same things. And if we can do that, and if the BMF can play any kind of role in facilitating that, and we're happy to do so,
there's a lot more conversations and collaborations taking place. There's a heightened sense of we have to do this together. We cannot do it. No industry can do it by themselves. Is this for BMF a new and a reinvigorated path that you are chatting, and to what end? What is the big what do you call it, the North Star that you now wanting to aspire to as an association?
Well, as a forum, this isn't new. The way in which we've approached it has, of course, evolved over the years since our formation as an organization, based on the prevailing conditions at the time. The BMF is all about now creating opportunities for a growing and inclusive economy. The North Star is socioeconomic transformation, and all that simply means in our terms is an economy that is broadly representative of the demographics of the country. We think that is an important indicator to say that now people in this country have an inequality of opportunity, and that's quite important. What you do with that opportunity is up to you, but what you want to do with your life shouldn't be threatened by structural issues that are based on nothing but your race or from where you come from. And that is what our North Star is. That is what we want to achieve. Socioeconomic transformation, an economy that's growing, that is inclusive, that is broadly representative of the demographics of our country and of our continent, and one that is growing sustainably so that future generations can share in that economy as well.
Cuma, without this planet, there is no me and you, and there is no BMF. So I'm glad that at least climate change and the just transition is going to be a topic as well that stays not in the background, but at the forefront of your discussions. How do I participate in the conference? How do I participate meaningfully?
Well, the best way is to become a BMF member, right? And to participate directly in framing some of these discussions, bringing things that are important from different sections of society to the fore so that they can also be unpacked and solutions found on as to how we can pursue them. And also to play a part in communicating and lobbying for these positions with some of our stakeholders, participating in the programs that we have. That's first prize. Second prize, the way in which people can participate in the conference and in the programs of the BMF is spelled out on our website, so bmfonline.co.za. There you'll find all the information about the programs that we're running, our different stakeholders and partners on those various programs, as well as what it is we're really trying to achieve with this conference. So the panels, the panelists, and a brief description of what we seek to discuss will also be on the website for people to engage with and make the choice to participate on.
Thank you. It's definitely there. It's a very easy, user-friendly website. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Cuma Dube, the chairperson of the BMF Editorial Committee. Thank you for joining us on Focus On. Until next time, it's goodbye from me. You take care.